I saw you were talking about Frozen at one point and how that movie had I've never seen the movie, but apparently you were saying it has a political agenda. Does that kind of play into what you're seeing with women not getting this talk as much?
Yes.
Like, are you noticing things in the zeitgeist?
Can you lay that out?
I don't fully know.
Well, it was explicitly not a Prince saves the princess movie, and fair enough in a very kind of casual sense. But the thing is that the prince does rescue the princess. That's the archetypal story, and the prince that rescues the princess can be the woman's own masculine side. I mean, these stories can be read at individual psychological and sociological levels. But Frozen, in my estimation, was essentially a piece of propaganda because it attempted to subvert the standard relationships between the genders. And I don't find creative products that have an ideological agenda credible. And I didn't find Frozen credible in the least, because it violates basic truths and it does it casually. I thought there were other things wrong with the movie.
I thought the boyfriend guy with the moose, he kind of comes in and saves the day, right? The princess is lying there dying, and he gets her warm again, and then she's able to go save the day. And while it's not the prince drawing his sword and facing down the dragon for his love, it's not that standard archetype, but he's there in his own way.
Yeah, well, he's sort of the nice, supportive guy, and you know how well they do in
I see. You're right. He comes in when there's trouble with a blanket and go get him, girl. You got this.
Yeah.
And then he fucks off somewhere with his moose.
On that exact same token, I love your explanation, and I'd never been able to internally articulate it before about the male feminist thing and the whole it gives you a creepy vibe. And the more I heard you talk about it, where you're saying, well, these people are just kind of weaker, subservient men that can't compete in a traditional male hierarchy, so they have to be kind of sneaky and try and go under the wire.
Let me tell you a funny story, man. People will hate me for this one. So it's about orangutans, and so now a fully developed male orangutan is the guy that has the big fat pads around his face, so he almost looks like a moon, eh? And he's a big, tough character, and the big males get so big they actually can't hang around in trees. They spend most of the time on the ground, whereas the typical orangutan is up in the trees. And so it used to be thought, so there's only one of these males around in any given territory, and these big males, and then there's other males that kind of look like the females. And it used to be thought that all of those more juvenile-looking males were adolescents. But then they discovered that wasn't true, that what happened was if there was a dominant and fully developed male in the territory, then all of the other males didn't mature fully, and they stayed in their juvenile form. Now the female orangutans come to the big moon-faced guy. So they come for mating purposes to him. The juveniles have to resort to rape. And if you can't understand that from a human perspective, then you're not bloody well thinking. So it's the same thing is that the successful males, and this is true genetically. So for example, you have twice as many female ancestors as male ancestors. And you think, no, that can't be possible. It has to be 50-50, but it doesn't. So it's easy. Every male who reproduced had 2 children, but a bunch had 0. And every female who reproduced had 1. So every female had 1 child, and half the males had 2. That's basically the stats. So there's much more male reproductive failure than female reproductive failure, and that's part of this Pareto distribution issue where all the spoils go to the victor. So, but the orangutan story is just insanely comical as far as I'm concerned.
It is an interesting parallel. Do you think it's something that is thought about cognitively by people like in the male feminists trying to sneak in under the radar, or do you think it's almost just a strategy that they're going out and doing, trying to get laid, and they don't even fully think about it?
I think they use the be nice strategy, and I think they use it because they don't have a better one.
That's fascinating, but I would have to take that study one more step, right? Remove the male, remove the dominant male, and maybe through artificial means rise one of these juvenile males who look a bit like a female, one of these beta males, rise him up to the new alpha. However you do that, I don't know.
That is what happens in the
You put a handkerchief on him, maybe they'll all love him now, But What happens then? Does he start growing those fat pouches and getting a mane?
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
That's so fascinating.
It's mind-boggling, man.
That happens with pigs too. So pigs are like dogs. They're all part of the same species. So that any pig can interbreed with any other pig, whether it's those micro silly pigs you see on Instagram or it's those big Russian boars with tusks. They can all interbreed. And what happens when you release one of those pink little pigs that we all have for bacon here in the United States? You release him out there in the wilds of Texas with the Russian boar and the hybridization that's happened there. It's its own species at this point. Within 6 months or something, maybe it's 6 weeks, he starts growing this long, black, bristly fur. He starts growing tusks, cutting teeth. Like he becomes what they are. So that's. I'd like to see that in humans now. I mean, we're just animals too. There's got to be an example of what if I were in that survival situation, like if the world falls to apocalypse and there are 3 males in 30-mile radius and I'm one of them, do I finally get like a full beard? Like, is this gonna fill in?
Not even then.
No,
God damn it.
It's an open question. It's an open question how different you would be in a truly different situation. I mean, we do know, for example, that one of the reasons that people change when they go to new environments is because new environments switch on new genes in the brain. So it's not merely a matter of absorbing new information and encoding new memories and all of that. It's that you literally change physiologically when you subject yourself to new challenges. New genes turn on and code for new proteins. And we have no idea what the full extent of that is.